Savion, what is a non-conformist?
A non-conformist is a person who goes against society's depiction of what is normal. But the one thing that we have to learn within life as we try to find out who we are as a person, that we establish our own type of norms based on our own personal experiences.
Put your hands in the air.
Give me all your money.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
Oh my God.
Also, we have to remember, in the battle for individuality, you have to understand that also that religion depicts how we're supposed to live life. That's basically the whole purpose of religion. How we're basically supposed to live life, survive through it, handle, whatever trials, tribulations come our way. However, when individuality comes into play, we have to battle with who we are as a person and what we like and what our religion says we're supposed to do. Because our religion may say that we're not supposed to wear the color red, but we might like the color red. So do you sacrifice your individuality to conform to what everybody else says is your norm?
Now, I know most of us here will probably answer this question the same way, but is there ever a time where you should conform?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Like sometimes, for instance, if I want to kill somebody, if I'm crazy as shit, or just like I want to kill somebody, it doesn't mean that I have the right to kill somebody just because I want to kill them. Just, the law says that, I can't kill, so don't kill.
I just feel like if something doesn't feel right to a person and they feel the need, like they have to change the way they're doing something, not necessarily to fit in, just to make it feel right to them, then I think it's okay. Like I wouldn't go and say, oh, I'm conforming to this or conforming to that. I'm just changing it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Something didn't feel right, so I'm just changing it up.
Well, I said I agree because if you're at a professional environment and you're at work, then you should act accordingly and be professional in your environment at work. It's all about becoming one with your environment, and sometimes in order for you to be one with your environment, you have to blend in.
And everybody got rules. Sometimes it's not about representing who you are as an individual, but sometimes it can be who we are to get to a common goal. So it's not always about me. Sometimes it's about us. Right. Sometimes you have to recognize when it's about me and when it's about us.
Right. I believe if it conflicts with your standard of what your morals and values are based on your religious experience, then yeah, it's conformity. But again, just like you said, every system has rules and regulations, and either you abide by them or get out of the system. That's how I look at it.
The one thing that also it's kind of hard for me to grasp the concept because everybody seems to think, well, some people believe that there's all one big grand master plan. Everything happens either to make you fall or to make you walk. But whereas there are out people who are generally just have no concern whatsoever about the big master plan. They're just trying to live their life.
Well, I think that in this day and age, especially when times are so tough, I think that it's okay to conform to a job, but I think that it's okay to conform in general as long as you don't lose yourself. And conforming, you still have a piece of yourself there, because depending on what your situation is, it may be in your best interest to conform, and you shouldn't be so stubborn or to be so into yourself and what you want to do that you don't look at the big picture. So I try to look at the big picture when it comes to stuff.
And here I am, a person, and I'm just me. I know you got your thing lined up about how society says I'm supposed to be, but I'm still trying to live to just be me. And you're telling me being me is wrong.
Well,
I have a problem with that, because you being you might not even be the real you, but because everybody else is happy with it, then you're comfortable with that. But that may not be comfortable for me. So that's when the battle between conforming comes into play as well.
But then I also think that we also have like a public and like a private persona. Like not everyone has the same access. So for instance, I may act different around you when I act around you. So your experience of who I am is different than your experience of who I am. So, you know, you may say, well, he's a bitch. You may know he's the nicest guy in the whole world because, you know, the access that I give to you is going to be the same that I give to him.
And then that just goes into perception because, you know, a lot of times when people say, oh, well, you're being a non-conformist, you're going against the grain or whatever, that could also be their perspective of you because they don't know you to get to know you, you know. And you may believe in similar things that they believe in, but because of the fact that you decided that you walked in the church, you know, wearing your lime green, that you know that you were being different because everybody else was in church wearing blue.
But then you also have to remember, you also have to
I mean,
you also have to remember that when you have to be careful who you give access to, because the person you give access to, their sole purpose might be just to get enough information about you so they can force you to conform to what they already think that you're supposed to be.
If you're in a church system, when is it okay to conform, and when is it necessary to throw away those things that are not?
I'll go about it.
Me personally, I really honestly don't think it's necessary. I experience a lot of people who conform every day in church, and I know I just don't fit in because I am who I am, and I'm pretty not going to change who I am for anybody else. So, to me, from my viewpoint, I see a lot of people as monkey see, monkey do, and I just see a whole bunch of monkeys in a barrel.
So, do you think the church tolerates it?
Yeah.
No,
they tolerate monkeys.
That's my point right there. I like that question, and I'm going to use a very good synopsis because I am a PK1, and I've been basically birthed in church. You can basically, my mother got the bill of cord in church. So really, I've seen it. Whereas I've basically in I don't want to just label and say the homosexual world, but in the metrosexual world, and going into the church circuit because there's a difference between church folk and believers. So then the church circuit, I have seen plenty of times where there's two gay men and they know that they do what they do, and they go and marry off and have female friends, and they marry off, and that's their church, and then they keep on multiplying these bastard kids. I know how it happens because I mean I've seen it, and they do allow it. That's how people make elders. That's how people make bishop, because you have to look a certain way, not be the way that you are. I know how that looks. And it's sickening, yes, and that's the way that it is. It's not the saying that they're saying that they're conforming like they don't believe in like what the Bible says. And there's one thing in taking it that way, as in, okay, we don't believe in what you do, but that's where the believer in the church circuit is, where that's the fine line. Because the church circuit will just say, yeah, you wrong, get it together, and you're damned to hell. But the believer would say, all right, you doing this, I don't like it, but I love you. You want something to eat? So that's just, I mean, that's the difference.
Shape it. You shape yourself around that particular system or situation, and that's all religion is, a system of theories and concepts.
So, I mean, it's just, you're going to see that every day. They're going to conform to that. Every religion, if you pay attention, is going to have that type of conformity. Everyone's going to have that. At the end of the day, everyone has rules. You have to live by God's law and man's law, point blank. So, out of experience, I had to learn very quickly that either you got to keep your business and keep your private life private. I don't conform. I just keep my business my business. I don't conform. I learned that in so many years. I just can't. You can't conform because at the end of the day, somebody's going to say what they think. Somebody else is going to say what they think. And at the end of the day, it's hearsay and it's their opinion. You still got to live. You still got to live regardless. So I don't really conform. I don't really adjust to anybody's setting. I just deal with it. But I keep my business life, I keep that separate from my personal life.
I think that, I'm going to get into the church thing in a minute. But as far as conforming in general, I'm more the type to believe in just acceptance rather than conforming. Because a lot of people do a lot of things that I might disagree with, and I do things that other people might disagree with. But I try to keep in mind everybody got a right to their opinion, no matter how stupid I may think it is, or no matter how stupid they think I am. So everybody got a right to their opinion. So I wouldn't say so much about conforming as much as I think the answer wouldn't be to just conform. You don't always have to. Sometimes you just accept, okay, you're this way, I'm that way, and that's all it needs to be. But as far as the church situation, One of the things that bothers me is a lot of stuff that he say I see all the time. I play piano for churches, and I see a lot of, going to a lot of different churches. I see this a lot, but somebody close to me had put something up saying it was false submission. If you basically go through the motions without really feeling it, without really applying the principles of the word and all that. And I think that a lot of that, what he was talking about as far as in the church, comes from the fact that they know that people aren't going to accept, and they know that that's what they see. Some people would call that false submission. If you're trying to just be a good person, just trying to do what you're supposed to do to the best of your knowledge. I think the line comes between believing in something versus, like, for instance, I don't claim to be Christian. So anybody, I'm agnostic. But while I'm at these churches, I try to respect the religion. That means I believe in God, but not a specific religion. Not specifically Jesus, Muhammad, Allah, none of that. Just, I believe that something created all this. I do believe in creative force. I just think that, I'm not personally for religion, but I'm not against it either. I'm just saying I'm not joining anything until I have proof of it, until I know this is what I believe in my heart, until something makes me convinced that this is the way it is.
Being a non-conformist in Buddhism is just like being a conformist in Buddhism. We're all different. We have people that are conservative Buddhists. We have people that are liberal Buddhists. We have people who just do whatever they want. I have people come to me on a daily basis like, are you sure you're Buddhist? You sure you do whatever you want? Y'all don't have any commandments or any rules or anything. We do have rules, but we're the heroes that walk by you every day. So in Buddhism, non-conformity is the conformity.
Now, jumping from one faith to another, I know we have a Buddhist, active Buddhist in our clique. So from a Buddhist perspective, that same question directed to Buddhism, how do you look at it?
Well, for a while when Buddhism first started, at least in the Mapo area, which is the area that we lived in, when Buddhism first started, the whole priesthood, when we were with the priesthood was like, well, we really don't feel comfortable with gay people being in this form of Buddhism. And then it was like to the 60s or 75 where they looked through all the sutras that Nichiren wrote, who was the reformist saint in this Buddhism practice, Nichiren Daishonin in Buddhism, and it said you can be a Buddha, you can reach enlightenment no matter what state of life you're in. You could be a whore, you could be gay, you could be anything, and you can still reach this form of enlightenment. And then they finally cleared it to say that we feel comfortable with gay people practicing this Buddhism, and ever since then, it's been like tenfold, like boom, 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 boom. Like I meet one gay Buddhist, and I turn around and I meet like 20 more.
With religion and everything, everyone's journey, so to speak, is different. And my issue is I don't need someone to dictate to me what I think feels right to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Or make me feel guilty.
And isn't it a scripture to talk
because
about?
They're not living my life.
You with fear and trembling. Exactly. And I can back that up. Follow peace with all men and holiness without no. See, everyone always strives for the holiness, but they never really get the part with following peace with all men, regardless whatever men they are in between, or they're trying to figure out whatever man they are. Like, you gotta follow peace with all of them. That's how you obtain holiness. You don't obtain holiness just by saying that you got the nice hat. Even though I like those
I just want a side note.
I like
every topic that ever gets brought up somehow gets redirected into religion. And how do y'all do that? It's still
I'll answer that for you, because when you start talking about certain topics, like if we talking about gay stuff, the religious right is normally what are you doing?
Just on.
Huh? No, I'm moderating. I'm too fat. I'm not being on the camera.
Look at your cheeks.
most of the issues that we battle with, we're battling with the religious right. So that's normally.
As religious, I feel like there can be more to be brought up other than the religious.
I mean, when you say,
when I hear everybody talk, I just feel kind of left out because
when you say, we could be real political about it, but we're not all big politics.
But most of that is religious back too, though.
Yeah.
You go ahead and
Now, this is a unknown fact about the A&M. Me and James served on the Civil Rights Movement.
This capitalist swine.
You trying to call me old?
On the rainbow blaze of glory.
Manipulated himself in the black market.
Where did you march from?
Did you march from San Francisco to the Castro?
No, we marched from Calvert Street to Federal Hill. And,
I know you lied.
No, baby, we don't need you.
We took that hill. And we we made it work for us.
It made it
I know
work
you're
for
lying
who?
because Jane doesn't march nowhere. If he would have went in the march, he would have been in his car. He was the only person in his car during this whole right.
And the zombie was being led by Keith. So yeah, he was
Oh, the movie I bring
marching.
Keith up.
Why are we? No.